Charlie Hooker, born in South London, continues to live and work there. Bob Russell, born in the Midlands, lives in Clapham and works in Hackney. Paula Rego, born in Portugal, lives in Hampstead and works in Clerkenwell. Kerry Trengove, born in Cornwall, lives and works in Bow. Kim Lim, born in Singapore, lives and works in Camden.
You don't go out and decide, I'm going to be an artist. You just do whatever you do. And you just fit into that bracket. I suppose I became aware of the possibility of becoming an artist when I was at art school. One of my favourite subjects at school was art, and I was very keen on music. We had a careers convention kind of thing at school with parents of pupils in different fields of work giving advice, and there was one guy who was a graphic designer, and I said I liked doing art, which as far as I was concerned was painting. And he said, I'll go to art school. So I went to art school. You know, it was that unconscious. But at the time, I think at 16, 18, you're not really that aware of what you want to do. And you tend to just kind of fall into slots, and I did.
No, I don't think everybody can be an artist. I think it's a gift, if you like, and that sounds terribly arrogant and pompous, but it isn't meant to be. It is something which you can do, which other people can't do. But it doesn't mean to say that you're any more special than a plumber or a bus driver, or painters, for that matter. But just a different sort of activity, just a different way of seeing the world. My earliest experiences of sculpture must have been when I was first at junior school. We, living in the Midlands, used to go to a little local junior school, and in order to get our lunch, we'd have to walk through a cemetery, and it was a Victorian graveyard, and so my contact was with, at a very early age, I think, at a very receptive age, was with these great big carved marble angels of enormously sentimental nature. But I was always intrigued by them, and I used to slide off occasionally at lunchtime to have a wander through the different side of the cemetery to see other graves.
Well, I like people to recognise something in them and say, oh, yes, I know just how that is, you know, that woman standing there being persuaded by a chicken to do something she doesn't want to. Oh, I know what that's like, you know, being bullied. I know just what that's like. Or I know just what it's like to make a fool of yourself. Or I know what it's like to have your hair cut, or all that sort of thing. I like that.
I think, like most people, you get fed up with failure. You get very frustrated at times when you have an idea and you know it's a very powerful idea. You simply can't find the answer to it, and everything you do for sometimes quite prolonged periods simply don't answer that problem. And you know it's there, you know it's elusive. And yes, then you get very fed up indeed. In many ways, there's nothing else that I can do now, and I'm very, very happy with that. I know that I am an artist, and I have such security in knowing that I'm an artist that it doesn't make me want to do anything else.
I don't like everything that is done in painting, sculpture and literature and music. So why should people like what I do, or everyone like what I do, so long as I get some individual responses? That is important. I mean, that one does make a connection somewhere. If you don't get any responses, then it becomes a bit worrying that you're not actually perhaps using the right means to carry your intention through.
As you can see, each of these artists has a different attitude to art. In spite of these differences, they share the belief that it is a very ordinary thing. You don't have to be exceptional to be an artist. You simply need to be a bit curious about life. Kim Lim makes this point by comparing art with cricket.
I know it's a riveting game for some, but totally incomprehensible for me. If I was fascinated by it, I would take the trouble to learn the structure of the game, and I would begin to see the subtleties involved. Likewise with art, the initial curiosity has to be there for somebody to make the effort to look and find out. I don't see why art has to be singled out to be something that can be instantaneously understood.
In the same way as their general attitudes vary, each person has an individual way of making things. Like Charlie Hooker, Kerry Trengove used to think art was just painting, but now he uses a variety of techniques. These include intaglio, relief carving, video and sound.
The experiment. Those are the times when you feel fed up, because you realise there's a germ of an idea, there's a hint of an idea, and you can't find a form for it, you can't get the right scale, you can't find the right material. And I think that perhaps that experimental stage is perhaps the most important of all, just playing with ideas, playing with materials, playing with values. Yes, that's very important, but sometimes I feel very sure I have a very clear idea of what I want to do. Go out there and I start to try to make it, and always, but always it changes, because always along that route you're discovering new things, new possibilities, and an idea.
Something out of the ordinary is that
lots of things were soul and all that. It's like walking around the street. An artist I saw at the end of the days, the ICA, Dubuffet. It's possible to draw like that, you see. I used to draw on pieces of paper. I used to cut them up and make figures.
When a person is on the blocks, there's a position when they're down at rest, about to get to the get set, because it seemed to me it was much more full of movement. It looks like there was going to be a lot of movement, and that sort of energy being expended, and an arm in things stand up better.
The things that I make come non-figurative, come out of theory. Rather, it's a realization of different of source, and different people do it in different ways. Some make something totally recognizable, and others under the second category. All the time, what you're making covers that seem to me right for work, but I don't have anything to do. I went in such a size because I had at the back of my head that I wanted to do columns without having to collect stones or at them. And one day I'll just go, because I've got familiar side, their presence, an idea of it, because sometimes maybe it's very clear and run out of conversation to germinate. I usually cover them up when they're not, and have a look at them again.
Brings together a number of bass, movement, balance and rhythm. In an object, he describes
putting all those ideas together, performance be filled up with the notations, and have to move over the various and marks which different sound and movement and visual thing for everybody, for the audience.
More often than not, a lot of people will say to you, yes, it looks great, Bob, and not offer anything else. And then you get something in the press which might be a little bit derogatory, which hurts because there's no chance of you engaging with the person. But I do worry a great deal about, what people's responses are. One side of me says I shouldn't give a monkeys about it. The other side of me says that, well, you have to, because without other people looking at the thing, then who's going to know? Actually change it unless I felt it was necessary to change it.
Petrified, absolutely. I'm terrified of showing the things because they're so personal, and I'm shy of showing them to people. I wouldn't change it because I couldn't change it. I can't do things if other people ask me to do them, because they don't come from me, they come from somebody else, therefore I can't really change them at all. But I want everybody to like them, of course.
I think it's our function to explain our work one way or another. The one I like about this is someone like Jacques Cousteau, the underwater explorer. He invented the aqualung, he pioneered underwater film work, he did so many things. And when somebody asked him what he was, he said, I don't like to be categorized as anything. If anything, my job is to lift up the carpet to show people what's underneath. And I think that's the artist's job as well. So for the way I would see the world, I would say that perhaps someone like Jacques Cousteau was also an artist.
Sometimes the piece to perform physically, and I feel worried for the performers in case they maybe trip up or do something. Like I did a piece at Chelsea once, at Chelsea Art School, where it was a very insistent rhythm which built up over about half an hour, played on wood blocks, and it was sort of very mesmeric. And it was a grid where people just had to walk up and down this grid. It was changing the symbols on built up, and one guy got so into it he just walked off the grid, just kept on walking into the wall, and kind of it was incredible because he kept in time and walked back and no one realised, but it was on video and you could see the guy walking off, and he was really upset that he thought he'd blown the whole piece, but I mean I thought it was great.
I think it's important for the kids who perhaps listen to this to realise that being a woman doesn't necessarily have to be a disadvantage, but it is tough, no doubt about it. It's not equal yet in the art world. You still have to be twice as good to be taken notice of.
The necessity to constantly question leads each artist to create something that is more than just functional or decorative. This personal need makes art an important part of their lives, which will in different ways.
Lovely poem which speaks of people who build bridges, people who build canals, people who grow orchards of trees. All of these people, he claims, ultimately could be artists if they really took what they did and they really took on the ultimate creative responsibility for it. I think in that way people can make their own homes into a work of art, they make themselves into a work of art, they can make their relationships into a work of art. It's just trying to see the world as aesthetically as one possibly can. And some people who do that actually become what we think of as artists.
People say, well, what's it supposed to be? And the answer is, it's not supposed to be anything. It is itself, if you like. And what I'm trying to do is to make something which has the same right to exist as my shoes do, or this table does.
I mean, it does something very important, but I don't know what it is.
There is an intention, but not a message. I mean, you can't stop people from responding to work in any way they want.
And the difference between art and entertainment is that you're forced to question things.